Hello everybody, welcome to the second part of the Ultimate Sonic Guide. So in the last part we had quite a lot to go over, but we're still not quite done yet with our Blue Hedgehog. For this part of the guide we're going to be specifically going over Sonic's Spin Dash and Spin Charge, and all of its utility. Before we get started, if you guys are interested in live content, gameplay, or just discussions in general over Smash Ultimate Sonic, I stream over at Twitch. If you guys follow me on Twitch and ever show up whenever I'm live, I'm always down to play the viewers or talk about Smash Ultimate Sonic or just answer any questions you guys ever have. So please, follow the channel. The link to it is in the description below. And lastly, I also have a Discord. So if you join the Discord, you guys can also discuss things with me over there, or just the other people in general that are in the Discord. Now without further ado, let's get started. So, what are these moves? Before we go any further, I need you guys to accept the fact that this is the character. Sonic is Ball. And no, I'm not joking, I'll go over exactly why I say that, but Sonic is going to be Ball for most of the match, because this move is going to be your neutral, your mix-up, your combo starter, your kill confirm, your approach option, your escape option, your everything. Trust me, as crazy as it sounds, that's exactly what's going to happen throughout most of the match. Alright, let's talk about the moves. What's the difference? They're both just blue balls spinning on the ground. Well, to a lot of people, they pretty much look the same. And at its core, they are pretty much the same. They're both going to be your main combo stars in the way you're going to deal damage throughout the match, which is why you're going to be using them a lot. However, they also have unique properties that make them both very different from each other, so you're going to be using one over the other in a lot of different scenarios. Let's start off with Spin Charge. Spin Charge is a multi-hit that drags the opponent across the ground, and on the final hit, it sends them upwards. There are two variations of Spin Charge. There is Spin Charge Roll, and there is Spin Charge Jump. Spin Charge Jump is actually a single hit, so when you hit the opponent with this, they get launched by one hit. The launch hitbox of Spin Charge will send the opponent typically in front of Sonic, so horizontally. The way you utilize Spin Charge Jump is that you hit your opponent with Spin Charge Roll, and then when you jump, you send them upwards. Since the opponent is sent close to Sonic, Sonic can usually follow up with aerials, as you can see here. This makes Spin Charge a really good combo starter, and is a great way to rack up damage. It's good to hit your opponent with Spin Charge Roll and then jump immediately to follow up with an aerial. However, the longer you drag them across the ground, the more damage you'll get, so it's much better to go for that instead of immediately jumping. Spin Charge also makes for a great mobility tool. It's fast on the ground, and it travels far in the air, as you can see here. There are ways to control Spin Charge on the ground. You can either just roll across the ground, you can shoot it straight upwards, and the way you do this is that you charge it and then you press the jump button. You can also control where you go after you jump. Or you can launch it forward in the air like so. The way you do this is that you charge it and then you flick the C-stick upwards. Your C-stick has to be set to tilts or smash attacks, however. Because of these factors, it has a ton of movement options, and it's great for just jumping around your opponent. It's also worth noting that it travels a lot further than Spin Dash when it's in the air. Another difference between Spin Dash and Spin Charge when they're rolling in the air is that Spin Dash still carries its Spin Dash look, as you can see here, where it's just a blue ball. However, with Spin Charge, when you're rolling in the air, you can see Sonic's body as he's just spinning, yet he still has the aura around him. That's one way to tell the difference. Spin Charge is also much better at changing its direction while it's in the air. It's good to keep this in mind when you're trying to be mobile with Sonic and use his specials. Additionally, when you're using Aerial Spin Charge, the properties of this move go from being a grounded move to an aerial move. This makes it capable of also going through projectiles, as shown over here. Sonic's Spin Charge is capable of ripping through weak projectiles. However, it will not go through projectiles that are either too strong or transcendent, so it won't be able to go through Wolf's Blaster, for example. Certain moves that have the properties of projectiles but aren't actual projectiles will still lose to Aerial Spin Charge. Now, let's move on to Spin Dash. While Spin Charge charges in place, Spin Dash will reel back a little bit while it's charging until it turns gold, and it'll go to a full stop. Spin Charge can be charged for much longer than Spin Dash until it auto-releases. And while Spin Charge immediately starts rolling on the ground once you release it, Spin Dash will first do a little hop before it starts to roll. During this hop, Sonic is invincible for 6 frames, meaning that while he's doing the upwards hop, as you see here, nothing can beat it. And Sonic will be able to pass through everything without taking any damage, and he will beat out any move in the game. This makes it a great option for countering attacks. However, one thing that's worth noting is that this only applies when Sonic does the hop with Spindash. Once Sonic has fully charged his Spindash, he will start glowing gold, and this will indicate that you have fully charged the move. If you release it in this form, instead of doing the hop, Sonic will start rolling immediately on the ground. He still retains the first 6 frames of invincibility that he gets when he releases Spindash. However, since it's no longer an aerial version of the move, it'll interact with other moves differently. Now instead of beating out moves and passing through them, he will instead clank with them. I don't know why it's like this, but that's just how the game is designed. Unlike Spin Charge, Spindash is a single hit move as you can see here. And when Sonic hits the opponent, he launches them straight up, instead of launching them in front of him. However, just like Spin Charge, Sonic has a grounded hitbox and an aerial hitbox when he jumps. When you hit the opponent with Spindash jump, it launches the opponent in front of you. This is why when you hit someone with Spindash and you do a jump, you get a second hitbox. It's also possible to hit them with a third hitbox, but we'll cover that later. As mentioned earlier, Sonic has 2 variations to Spindash. He has the aerial Spindash and the grounded Spindash. When Sonic releases Spindash, he goes into the aerial version of Spindash with the aerial hitbox. Then once he lands on the ground and starts rolling, he's back to the grounded hitbox. However, you can enter the aerial hitbox once more the second you jump. By understanding these properties, you can control how you combo your opponent. You can either combo him upwards, or you can take him off to the side. Yes, you saw that correctly. You can actually Spindash fair someone off the side, and it kills ridiculously early. Here's an example of a top Sonic using this method in bracket and getting an early kill. Alrighty, now let's go over the main ways we're going to rack up some damage with these moves. As we mentioned earlier, Spin Charge will launch the opponent forward. However, how far they are launched is entirely based on what percent they're at, how much you charge your Spin Charge, and how much rage you have. So at low percents, if Sonic is spinning fast enough, he'll usually fly in front of his opponent. Because of this, if you hit them with the homing attack, you'll hit them with the back hit of homing attack. As we mentioned in the last video, if you hit someone with the back hit of homing attack, you can go for follow-ups. So at low percents, if you already hit someone with a Spin Charge, you can hit them with a Spin Charge, homing attack, up air, and nair. The more hits you get off Spin Charge, the more damage you'll deal with this combo. That right there is going to be the most important combo you can go for when you hit someone with Spin Charge at low percents, since it deals the most damage out of any other combo you can think of. Other basic combos are just Spin Charge nair, Spin Charge forward air, or if you're near a ledge, you can do Spin Charge down air. However, I do recommend that the most optimal combo is the Spin Charge homing attack, and then go for follow-ups. Next, for Spindash at low percents, you will be sending the opponent in front of you as mentioned earlier. So in a scenario like this, you would like to hit them with the reverse homing attack, as mentioned in the previous video. This way you can do a Spindash to reverse homing attack to up air to nair. If you hit your opponent with Spindash jump a little early, you send him close to the ground. In a scenario like this, you would do a Spindash jump to reverse homing attack into up air, grab, and then nair. Other basic combos consist of Spindash nair, Spindash forward air, and after a lot of training, you can sometimes get Spindash upper to work. I'll make a complex guide later about this, but there are ways to make this work. For the moment, I advise just going for Spindash forward air to get stage control, or the Spindash reverse homing attack. At mid percents is when you're going to start sending your opponent more upwards or to the side. If you send your opponent to the side, you want to get the stage control. At mid percents, you either want to go for Spin Charge back airs, Spin Charge forward airs to get some stage control and then go for an edge guard, or you can do a Spin Charge down air and potentially get an edge guard. You can also go for Spin Charge nair for some quick damage, and if the angle is just right, Spin Charge up air. Spin Charge homing attack works too, but you can't really get any consistent follow-ups. As far as Spindash goes, you can go for pretty much mostly the same combos, as you see Spindash nair, Spindash forward air, Spindash back air. Spindash upper is still a thing, but again, it takes incredible mastery over the move. However, you can mix up your combos by trying to get the second hit of Spindash as mentioned earlier, and try to send them horizontally. This way, you can opt to go for edge guards. If you hit them with the early jump, you can follow up with a homing attack. You can also use this to get your opponent off stage and go for an edge guard. As previously mentioned, the higher their percent gets, and the more rage you build up, the further they're going to be launched. So with Spindash they're going to be launched further up, and with Spin Charge they're going to be launched further horizontally. A higher percents like this you can usually go for Spin Charge forward air to get your opponent off stage. However, as mentioned earlier, the further you drag them, the more damage you build up. You also get a little bit more distance, so if you drag them across the ground, you can definitely get early kills. Both hitboxes of Spin Charge send them forward, the ground one and the aerial one. Because of this, you can take advantage of both to go for certain combos. Spin Charge jump comes out really fast, and as I mentioned earlier, you do this by pressing down B and then flicking the C stick upwards. You can use this as an extension of combos and not just a combo starter. Here's an example. You can still go for some other combos, however, it's much more optimal to just try to go for Spin Charge forward air. And as for Spin Dash, it can also deal more knockback depending on how much you charge the move. If you charge it a little bit, you can try to follow up with some horizontal combos, but if you fully charge it, your best bet is to go for the vertical combos. At really high percents, you can get a kill confirm off this. You can also start these combos from the air, as so. So you can always try to approach him from the air as well, to catch them at a different angle. Now let's go over the hitbox of Spin Charge and Spin Dash. So as we all know, this move is just pretty much an active hitbox at all times. However, you gotta keep in mind that this is still Sonic launching his body at people, which means that people can still hit you while you're doing this move. However, this move also has the capacity to clank with certain hitboxes. If a certain hitbox is too small or too weak, Sonic will actually clank with it instead of just losing to it. In many cases, you'll clank with a move that you would normally lose to, but instead you clank because you hit a certain hitbox. Now let's talk about how these moves interact with shield. Spin Charge will always go through shield no matter what. You'll hit it multiple times before stopping on the other end. In order to prevent stopping, just jump and you will fly across the shield. Spin Dash, however, will stop on shield unless you fully charge it. This, however, can be prevented if you just jump as you hit shield. There are ways to control how these moves interact with shield and use them to do a lot of other cool stuff. For example, you can hit shield multiple times with Spin Charge and then go straight up and jump. You can also jump backwards, or you can just jump on top of them. These moves do a good amount of shield damage, so you can get a good shield poke. But if they're holding shield too much, you can get a shield break. With Spin Dash it's a similar case. You can either just shoot past him once he hits shield, or you can bounce off of them and apply additional pressure. Spin Dash interacts with shield in a very unique way compared to a lot of other moves, and there are so many ways that you can apply additional pressure and just do a bunch of cool stuff around their shield. However, I'll save that for another video. However, this still makes for great shield pressure, and this gives you the option to move around your opponent's shield until you can find an opening and then go for a hit. An incredible attribute to both Spin Dash and Spin Charge is that Sonic has the ability to act out of the move whenever he chooses to, and he has a large amount of options that he can choose from. For both moves, you're going to have very similar options in very similar scenarios. However, there are small differences between the two, but for the most part, they're the same. While you're charging on the ground, you can cancel both of them into a vertical spin jump. And the way you do this is that as you're holding the B button while you're charging, you press the A button, and you immediately go up. Once you have jumped, you can also control which direction you want to go to. The great thing about this is that you can do this instantly once you start charging. You can also do a normal spin jump, which launches you forward. I've already explained how to do this for Spin Charge, so let's talk about Spin Dash. For Spin Dash, in order to do this, you have to fully charge Spin Dash, and then immediately let go of the B button and flick the A button. If you don't fully charge Spin Dash, you'll get a Spin Shot. You can also do Spin Shot while you're in the air. However, you must have your double jump to do this, or else it won't work. Additionally, another thing that you can only do with Spin Dash is that you can charge it and jump while you're charging it. The way you do this is that you press the jump button while you're still charging it. While you're charging in the air, you can still release it. You can also double jump, or you can Spin Shot. Another thing that separates Spin Dash from Spin Charge is that when you release it, Sonic goes into an aerial Spin Dash immediately before he lands on the ground, and then does a grounded Spin Dash. Because of this, Sonic has access to other options that you won't have with Spin Charge release. The only exception, of course, is when you fully charge Spin Dash, in which case Sonic immediately goes into the grounded version of Spin Dash. When in the air, Spin Dash and Spin Charge can only go for one option, which is jump. In this case, Spin Charge doesn't worry about that when you release it because it's already rolling, in which case you need to jump before you enter the aerial state of the move. However, with Spin Dash, when you release it, you're in the air for the first few frames, so your only option is jump. However, this actually gives Spin Dash a lot more mix-up potential than Spin Charge. When you release Spin Charge and jump, you have to wait a couple few frames before you can act out of it, as you see here. However, with Spin Dash, you can act out immediately. Because of this, when you jump out of it, you can act out with any option that you can normally do in the air. You can up B, you can use another special, you can do an aerial, or you can air dodge. Having immediate access to air dodge is actually really good because this gives you the potential to immediately cancel Spin Dash with directional air dodge. The way you do this is that when you charge Spin Dash and release it, you jump immediately and then air dodge downwards. This is one way to instantly cancel your Spin Dash charge. And if you're in a stage with platforms, you can mix up how you cancel it. You can be charging it and then cancel it under the platform, or be charging it and then jump to the platform. These options make for a great mind game. Once you start mastering this technique, you can constantly keep your opponent guessing on which option you're going to choose once you're charging it. Because you can choose to release it, you can choose to just cancel it, you can just up B out of it, you can just retreat to the other side of the stage with it. You can constantly go for different options, and your opponent is going to be constantly guessing which one you're going to choose just because you have so many options to choose from, and only you will know which one you're going to choose. As mentioned earlier, you can only do this when you're doing an aerial version of Spin Dash. So if you're rolling on the ground, you can't do this. Because whenever Sonic does a spin jump, he cannot air dodge out of it. However, he can still do all of his aerials without having to jump. Because of this, another method to cancel Spin Dash while you're rolling is to down air. You can also do this while you're charging Spin Dash, or even Spin Charge, but when you're rolling on the ground, you cannot jump and air dodge downwards unless you do a double jump, in which case you're already too high for it to be a reliable option. The fastest way to cancel your Spin Dash roll is to immediately down air. This also makes for a great mix-up, because they don't know if you're going to launch yourself immediately at them, or just stop before you hit them. However, if you're playing on a stage with platforms, air dodging too high isn't too much of a problem because you have platforms to retreat to. This way you can mix up by just retreating to them. So instead of stopping your roll for down air, you can retreat to a platform and do a directional air dodge. I encourage you to explore all these methods of canceling Spin Dash. Now going back to Spin Dash jump, I explained earlier how Spin Dash needs to fully charge before you can do it. However, there is one way to do it with the uncharged version. The way you do this is that when you release Spin Dash, you have to land first after you do the hop, and once you've done the hop and landed, then you jump, and Sonic will do the Spin Dash jump. This covers the same distance as the Spin Charge jump, so you can use both options if you'd like. However, Spin Charge jump does come out faster. However, there is one thing that Spin Dash jump can do that Spin Charge jump can't. Spin Dash jump can actually change its distance from long to short. Here's the long Spin Dash jump, and then here's the short Spin Dash jump. The way you get a short Spin Dash jump is very hard to pull off and pretty unrealistic to get in a tournament setting. However, the way you do this is that when you release Spin Dash and you do the little hop, the one frame before you hit the ground, you have to input the jump button. And then right when you land on the ground, Sonic will automatically jump back up and do a short jump, as you see here. This is a one frame window input. You have to do it exactly the frame before Sonic hits the ground, or else it won't work. Now again, they're always relying on a one frame window is pretty unrealistic. However, there are ways to get this consistently. If you use up your double jump and then release Spin Dash in the air, you won't be able to jump again. So what you want to do is, you want to hold the jump button right before you hit the ground and it will automatically buffer it the frame before. This way, you'll consistently get the short Spin Dash jump. You can use this to mix up your movement options. When you do this short Spin Dash jump, you can always choose which direction you go to. You can just continue to go forward, you can go back, or you can go straight up. You can constantly threaten your opponent's presence by just going near them and then jumping backwards. You can also just jump over them. Keep in mind this is also an active hitbox, so you can just hit them with it. This also makes for great pressure because you can always choose an option immediately afterwards to act out from, so you're constantly keeping your opponent guessing. At this point, you want to go into training mode and constantly practice on your movement until you've perfected it to a point that you're just comfortable with it. Using Spindash should be an extension of your movement and a way to be evasive around your opponent. There's so many options you can choose from to act out with, or so many angles that you can launch yourself at, that with enough practice you can maneuver around almost anything. By making Spindash and Spin Charge an extension of your movement, you're constantly applying pressure to your opponent once you're moving around, because you're launching yourself so fast and so far that they won't be able to catch you, and you're constantly guessing how they're going to deal with this option. They're always going to press a button or going to choose an option to deal with this, and you're constantly going to have to be evasive around it and then bait it out, and once you find an opening, you're going to hit him for it. It's just up to you to be patient enough and willing enough to constantly run away until you find that opening and then hit them for it. Just let it come to you. Don't try to force it, just try to move around them and wait for that opening to come to you and then go for the hit. But if they ever get too comfortable, you can always go for a surprise approach here and there. Because Spindash has so many options, you can always go for a mix-up and throw them off. This doesn't only apply to neutral, however. It is also good to use these movement options during disadvantage, because you can make it difficult for your opponent to follow your movement. Whenever you're in a tough spot, it's good to go for a mix-up like Spindash or Spin Charge and just throw your opponent off, and then you can make it difficult for them to hit you. Because of all these options that Sonic has out of Spindash, and the amount of damage and the priority that this move has, and the fact that it has invincibility at startup, and like all these factors that go into play in regards to this move, is incredible pressure on the opponent. Because whenever you do this or this, your opponent is now forced into a situation where you're going to go for an option that's low risk and high reward, and they have to guess how you're going to do it. Because if they guess wrong, they're going to get punished for it hard. So whenever you're doing this, you're immediately forcing your opponent to guess how they're going to deal with that option, and that's an incredible amount of pressure that you need to take advantage of. Because of this, throughout the match, you need to constantly be paying attention to how your opponent reacts to that, and then try to work around it. There's actually a video I made not too long ago where I go into great detail about this concept. The link for it will be in the description below. With all that being said, this will be the end of part 2 of the Sonic Guide. I hope you guys have managed to learn a lot today on how you can utilize Spindash and what options you have out of it. There will be a few more parts after this, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.